So we all know that WordPress gets a bad rap in the developer world, and in this video, I'm here to try to change your mind or try to change that. In this video, I want to showcase 10 reasons why I think WordPress is actually surprisingly good for developers in 2024. Let's jump into the 10 reasons. So reason number 1, free. And not just free as in beer, as in it costs $0, free as in speech. It's free in open source software. You can self-host it, you can move it anywhere. I could fork it and call my new forked version BradPress if I wanted to. And if you Google for the biggest free and open source software list, you will see WordPress. Right? This is pretty good company to be a part of, and that's what WordPress is. And again, just to be clear, this is WordPress.org, not WordPress.com. WordPress.org is the free and open source project. Cool, let's move on to the next reason, 43%. So yes, 43% of all websites on the entire internet are powered by WordPress. So do the math. The job market, the documentation, the community, the answer to almost any question you could possibly have, it's all there. It's the biggest community because 43% of all websites are powered by WordPress. So now I'm not saying that just because it's popular, it's good, or just if something's popular, it's the best. That's definitely not true. But there's, another 8 reasons of why I think WordPress is great. But hey, it doesn't hurt that it has this kind of market share. The next one is the REST API. So this is a fun experiment if you've never seen this before. So let me pull this up in my browser. So the official nasa.gov website, it's powered by WordPress. But even beyond that, their REST API is publicly available. So you could parse this JSON and use it or leverage it, show it on your website. I mean, I don't know about the total legality of that. But my point is by default, WordPress has an amazing REST API, and it's enabled and turned on by default. And you can just consume it. So again, the Rolling Stones website, not Stones, just singular, Rolling Stone. This is powered by WordPress, and then here's their REST API that you could hit up. There's their JSON. The Sony PlayStation blog, their website is powered by WordPress. Here's their REST API. You could check that out. My point is that WordPress makes data very accessible. It would be very easy to create sort of a decoupled or headless solution. I think this is like a developer's dream. It's just, it's enabled by default, right? The world's most popular content management system that powers 43% of the web has a REST API turned on by default. Now, Harvard University, this uses WordPress, but they have locked down the REST API. The Microsoft blog is powered by WordPress, but they've disabled the REST API. The Walt Disney Company uses WordPress, but they've disabled the public REST API, so on and so forth. But you get the idea. I just think it's really cool as a developer to... the data is open. It's a developer's dream. You can use it for live search overlays or, any kind of client-side JavaScript. It's there by default. You don't need to build it out, those endpoints, as a dev. It's already done for you. Hey, super random and quick interruption here. So I love mechanical keyboards, but I've never had a custom keycap set before until now. So now my shift key says NPM run dev, my tab key says console.log, so on and so forth. This set is called Code Brew, a play on, cold brew and JavaScript. Big thank you to Glorious for sending me a review unit of this set. They're made of PBT, so they feel good, they sound good, they should last a very, very long time. If you want to check this set out, you'll want to do so in the next week or so because Glorious releases a new set each month, and we're almost to the end of June here. You'll find a link to Glorious's website down in the description of this video. Thanks again to Glorious for collaborating on this video, and now let's get back to WordPress. Next reason is React.js. So the content editor of WordPress, like the block editor where you're typing in your headings and your paragraphs and your content, that uses React. And you as a developer, you can go create your own blocks, and it's all powered by React. Now, not on the public visitor side that visitors of your website will look at, but the admin content editor, that is powered by React. And a lot of React, I think, can feel overly academic or hypothetical or head in the clouds. This is a real world scenario of how to leverage your React skills. I think it's pretty cool. The next reason is server-side rendering plus client-side hydration. So it's one of the newest features in WordPress. It's called the Interactivity API. It offers a single declarative template for both server-side rendering, which we know is excellent for SEO, accessibility, initial page load times, And that same declarative template also takes care of like client-side hydration, interactivity, event handling, so on and so forth, context, state, just all the things you would do with a front-end framework. And I personally believe that the Interactivity API, in another year or so, once they launch the router feature, it is going to let WordPress be the PHP version of Next.js. I believe that, where you have this one template or this one language that can be both server-side and client-hydrated. It's going to be amazing. It's already amazing, but once we get the interactivity router fully added into WordPress and documented, it's just going to be amazing. But anyways, next point, NPM. So believe it or not, WordPress actually has first-party official packages, and they are amazing. So I think a lot of people, when they hear WordPress, they just think of PHP. In the modern era, we have some amazing packages over in the WordPress community. And they're not community created. I mean, they are put out by official WordPress. So I know no one really uses like create React app anymore, but we have in WordPress, this is actually really useful, a create block package. We have a scripts package, which makes it really easy to transpile JSX or to compile your sassy CSS into regular CSS or to bundle up your JavaScript dependencies. It's a great package, does everything for you out of the box. It's really well configured. And then we're going to look at this package a little bit later in the video. We have one called WP Now, which lets you have a local WordPress dev environment without installing anything on your computer. I mean, literally, if you just have Node installed on your computer, you can start building WordPress themes and plugins. You don't need to install PHP or a database or anything. So anyways, we'll check some of these out, but we have amazing NPM packages in WordPress in 2024. Now, upon saying that, 50% of you watching this are about to vomit, right? It's like, boo, NPM and JavaScript are bad. You need 50,000 dependencies to sort an array. The other 50% of you are excited. You're like, yes, I love this. I want JavaScript everywhere. So I want to let you know, regardless of where you fall on that, whether you're yay or nay, don't worry. NPM is optional. You don't need it. You could absolutely skip it entirely if you wanted to. And that's because WordPress is actually powered by PHP, which is a very rock solid foundation. I've seen on social media lately, PHP has had a bit of a renaissance or a resurgence. I'm seeing a lot of really positive posts about PHP lately, and I'm loving it. I think a lot of that has to do with Laravel, not WordPress, but it's PHP nonetheless. I'm a big fan of PHP. It's handling the server-side rendering. You, as the developer, are in complete control of your markup. And, I mean, a big advantage of PHP is the ubiquitous and affordable hosting. I mean, there are some really dirt cheap, affordable web hosts, and the page speeds are really rock solid, and it's just everywhere and it's cheap. So PHP is awesome. I guess I'm just saying it's a lot easier and more affordable and just more intuitive, I think, to host a PHP app than like a Node.js app. Not that hosting a Node app is rocket science, but you get the idea. Let's talk about the next point, content types, or I should say custom content types. So WordPress is absolutely not just blog posts and pages. You can have different content types. You could have a content type called pets, and another type called cars, and another type called songs, and another type called teachers. And each post type can have its own fields, right? So like the pet post type could have fields of like name, species, fur length, number of legs, and then do all animals have 4 legs? Each content type could have its own categories, right? So like for cars, you could have a category of like brand, and then like number of seats, transmission type, engine type. And then most of all, you can create relationships between the different types of content. Like you could create a relationship between a certain pet and a certain song, or a certain teacher and a certain blog post. So WordPress, the point here is it's not just for blogging. It can be used for anything. The next point is themes and plugins. So you have your own handcrafted HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Themes and plugins make WordPress infinitely expandable. There's a brilliant hook and filter system in PHP. All of this, in short, is just to say that it is a complete developer's playground, right? You're dealing with a platform that powers 43% of all websites, and your coding skills can fit into that in an infinite number of ways. So do the math. That's a really cool position to be in. It's a playground. If you know how to code, WordPress is like your playground. And then finally, the number 10th point, the famous editor. So non-developers need to be able to update and contribute new content to sites. It's not like everyone that's updating a website is a programmer or a developer. And because of WordPress's market share, so many people, like non-developers, they're already familiar with the editor, the page and post editor in WordPress. So you don't need to train them as much. They're probably just already a little bit familiar with the WordPress editor. Cool. Now, that's all 10 reasons, but the video's not over here. I want to get hands-on now. I want to show you how to actually get started. And you don't need anything to get to follow along. You don't need to go install PHP or MySQL or Nginx or Apache. All you need is Node.js and a text editor that you enjoy. So I use VS Code, but as long as you have Node on your computer, you can follow along with me right now. I want to show you how quick and easy it is to dip your toes into the WordPress waters, right? So let's just create a brand new folder on our desktop. Let's call it our super great theme. Doesn't matter, you could name it anything, right? But go ahead and open that up in your editor. And in the new folder, we just need to create 2 files. So we need one file named index.php. Let's just say hello world. Doesn't even matter if you spell it incorrectly. Let's create a second file named style.css. And I'm not making these files up, these names up. They need to be these exact names. In your style.css file, have a CSS comment. And we need to say, and again, this needs to be like character by character. I'm not making this up. It needs to be theme name : and then just make up a name like our wonderful, great theme, and then close out the comment, save the file. Now, we don't have a local WordPress dev environment set up. That doesn't matter. Check this out. You're one command away from not only seeing this theme active, but like a real WordPress environment. So just go into your command line and run this with me. npx @wp-now/wp-now, and then start. This one command, you don't need anything on your computer installed other than Node.js. Go ahead and press enter. It should automatically launch in your web browser. And I mean, there you have it. Now, obviously this isn't very interesting. So let's spend the next like 2 minutes building out a really bare bones theme. So in index.php, let's do a few things. Let's go into PHP. Let's call a function of get footer. This will load the official WordPress footer. Now, if you save that and refresh, you can see that automatically gets you the top WordPress admin bar. Cool. Let's take things a step further though, right? So now you could create a file named footer.php to override the footer content. So you could say like footer content here. Whoops, so off camera, I just needed to wait like 20 seconds and then I guess the cache cleared. I guess there was some cache bug. So if you run into that, just know, maybe just keep refreshing, wait 20 seconds. Now, moving forward, you should never have to do that again, right? Like if we add 3 exclamations, cool. I don't know what was going on, just a WP now NPM bug maybe, whatever. Let's keep moving on. So then back in index.php, up at the top here, we could say like get header, and then, you know, that's the default header, but you can be in complete control of your markup by creating header.php. I would just use VS Code's doc tab trigger to get me a skeleton. And then I don't want the closing body and HTML tags. I would want that in my footer.php. So then in footer, you could say like footer goes here. Whoops, that's a weird auto suggestion. And then I would close out of the body tag and then close out of, it's hard to type and talk, close out of the HTML tag. Right before the closing body tag, let's use a PHP function of, WP footer. This will make sure that WordPress loads its own resources and scripts that it needs to. Like if you want to enqueue a JavaScript file down, towards the end of your document instead of up in the header. And then in header.php, here's what we're going to do. You could say like our header content here, and then before the head section closes, like right here, we just go into PHP and call, I believe it's WP underscore, not header, just head, like for the head section of your document. Close out of PHP. Beautiful. So at this point now we have the WordPress powered admin bar. We have our universal header, our universal footer. Now let's do something actually useful in index.php. So in other words, our homepage. So what I would do is probably like close out PHP here. You can go back into PHP here. Right here, let's show all of our blog posts. Really quick, I'd probably make sure you have multiple blog posts to experiment with. So like you can click this to go into your actual admin dashboard and click on posts. Right now we just have the one default hello world post. So let's make sure we have at least like, maybe 2 other posts. So we'll say example post number 2. You could put in some lorem ipsum here. Doesn't matter, just click publish. Let's create one more post. So add a new post right here. Let's say example post number 3. This is amazing. Okay, now we have multiple posts to loop through and experiment with. So here's what you would do in index.php. Go into PHP. We're just going to run a while loop. So parentheses, curly brackets. The condition is while we still have posts. So this is a WordPress function. If there are still posts to loop through, right? Like if you only have 5 posts, stop looping. If you have 8 posts, just while you still have posts, continue to do this. Inside the body of the function or the while loop, just say like there's a function called the post that's going to get all the data ready for the current post. Now from this point we can go out of PHP. On this line you go back into I realize this is very messy. This is the one shortcoming of WordPress. I wish it had a built-in template language, like something like Twig. If it had that, it would be perfect. And there's actually plugins you could have to use something like that, but this is default WordPress. Don't worry, a little bit later in this video, we're going to learn about something called block-based themes or full-site editing, where you wouldn't necessarily need to write PHP like this. Anyways, for the time being, this area now is just HTML. So you could have like a div, you could have like a heading level 2, and this would be the title of the post, right? So you would just say the title, it's the name of the PHP function, and then maybe like just the content, so PHP, the body content. Cool. Now if we give, yes, down here, so I'm already in PHP. I don't need to get into PHP right there again. Let's give that a test on the front end. So I'll click this to go back to my home page. Cool. So there's our header, and there are our 3 example blog posts, and there's our footer. So now let's set it up, and then we'll move on to the next example. I promise it'll be more exciting. Let's just have a link so that you can click on the title and go to the URL that's specific to just that one blog post. So what you would do is you would just have this, an A element, close it out right there. And then instead of a hashtag, it would be, PHP. You just call a function called the permalink. Cool. Refresh. Now I can click on number 2, and it takes me to a URL just for that number 2. You get the idea. Cool. So at this point, you have at least a linkable website. Now, this is really boring, and you're probably thinking, well, how do I, wire up my own CSS, my own JavaScript? Like, how do we actually do something that looks nice? So from here, we're not going to walk through this because that would be a 20-hour video. I have some boilerplate that I want us to use that's going to speed this up tremendously. So you can stop that task in the command line with Control-C, and let's go take a look at my boilerplate. You'll find a link to this in the description of this video. It's called Brad's Boilerplate. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. Brad's Boilerplate WordPress. And I have several different examples here. The first one I want to walk through with you is just called Brad's Boilerplate Theme. So go ahead and download this repo, and then that's the subfolder I want to walk through with you. So I just placed that folder that I downloaded on my desktop. Inside of that folder, we're looking for the one that's just Brad's Boilerplate Theme. Go ahead and open this folder up in VS Code. All right, with it open, first of all, run an NPM install. It should take maybe 30-40 seconds. Once that finishes, then just use npx, and we're just going to start up a local dev environment for this theme. So it's @wp-now, start. Cool, so that should look something like this, and this has CSS already hooked up. Here you can see I'm using actually a React component on the front end. Every time you click on it, it increments this number. Now the one downside to using that npx script WP Now, we just lost those 2 extra sample blog posts that we created. This is a new, I believe it's using SQLite maybe in the background. This is like a totally new fresh instance because it's a new folder location on your computer. In about 5 minutes, we'll learn how to have a more consistent, like permanent local dev environment that doesn't just use Node.js and emulation, but for now, this will do the trick. Let's walk through an example task together. Let's go create just one new example post just so we have multiple posts to experiment with. So we'll say like example post number 2, lorem ipsum. Let's go ahead and publish that. Let's go back to our home page. Cool. So now we have two different posts. So now when you click on number 2, it takes you to a URL just for that post, or if you go back and click on this. But I want to show you how to be in control of the template just for individual blog posts. So in your theme folder, we already have index.php. You would just create a new file named single.php. And now this is responsible for, individual blog posts. So this template is used for permalinks, or just the single URLs for a post. Index.php is used for your actual template, but now you could borrow code from index, plop it over in single.php, right? You refresh, and then maybe on the single, you don't want this React component here, so you could get rid of that. And then maybe you wanted, like your own div.banner. You get the idea. So that's the WordPress template system. There's all these special names like single.php, archive.php, page.php. There's these different template names, and they control the different URL patterns or different pages that you would visit. So your home page is still using index, and this is using single. Cool. Now this type of theme that we've been working with so far, this is referred to as a classic or traditional theme. At this point, I want to change gears and show you the more modern approach, which is using blocks. So in my boilerplate repo, we have a folder called Brad's FSE hybrid theme. Let's go ahead and start working with that folder. So go ahead and press Control-C in your command line. You can close out of that VS Code. So in this folder, let's see, Brad's FSE hybrid theme. Let's launch that open in VS Code. Open up your command line. Go ahead and run an NPM install. And let's check back once that's finished. All right, once your NPM install finishes, then run this command with me. So npx @wp-now/wp-now start. Let's fire that up. Cool, so this is the theme and project that we built together in my full-length course. But this boilerplate is freely available. So there's a slideshow down here. But what's really cool is that this is fully integrated with the WordPress block editor. So check this out. If you use this link to go into the admin dashboard and then click on appearance and then the activated theme, you can just click customize. And now, like if I wanted to change that header, I just clicked on it. I could change this to 3 exclamations, or I could change this button to be medium size. Or if you click this icon, that opens up the settings panel. With the button selected, I could make it blue, orange, yellow. I'll go with blue. And then if I scroll down, I can also change the slideshow. So like for the first slide, maybe I want that to be a blue button. Maybe I want this to have 3 exclamations. So you can save. You can also upload a different photograph. But let's go save that and preview that and see what that looks like. Cool, so there's the changes up top, and then there is the first slide with the different button color and the 3 exclamations. Now you might be saying, Brad, what is going on here? Why is this exciting? It's because we wrote the React-based code that powers these admin editor side blocks. So if you go into VS Code, go into the SRC folder for this new theme, and here you have it. So let's take a look, for example, at maybe the slideshow. So if you go into edit.js of the slideshow block, again, this is just React, JSX, or those buttons where I could choose between blue and orange, the different sizes. That's this generic heading block that I created. And again, you're just leveraging your React skills to create these cool experiences for non-developers. And then you, as the developer, you are in complete control of the HTML that this outputs. So you're leveraging your React skills so that non-developers can contribute sort of on Rails, a guided designed experience that sticks to brand guidelines and brand standards and brand identities. But you're flexing your React muscles and you are in complete control of the markup output. I mean, I think this is really cool. Now, really quick, before we move on, I do want to show you with this theme enabled, if we go create a new blog post. So I'll say example post again, and then yes, you could have a paragraph. But if we try a block type of, if you start, quick tip, when you're in this new area, you can search for a block type by typing / and then it's just sort of like a quick search. So in this theme, I've created a custom block type called Interactivity Quiz. And if you insert that, you can have a question, right? You could say what color is the sky on a clear day? Then you could make up some answers. You could say yellow, purple, blue, and then you could star blue because we know that's the correct answer. You can choose the background color, like maybe we want a green like UI experience, publish that. And then if we go view that post on the front end, so now it's interactive, like the user can get it wrong, sorry, try again, they can get it correct. And this is being powered, if you want to dissect what's going on here, you just go into the SRC folder and go into Interactivity Quiz, and I would recommend checking out render.php. So this is the Interactivity API. This is when I said in the slideshow, server-side rendering plus client-side hydration. That's what's going on here. It's this really cool declarative language or template. It's just HTML with different WordPress directives. It's really similar to me. It's like a mixture of React declarative strategy with like in the PHP world. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's brand new. It's the best of both worlds, server side and client side. I really like it. Cool. So this is an example of a block type, but I've sort of embedded it into a theme. You don't need to embed a block into a theme. A lot of times developers will distribute a block type as its own unique plugin. So if you go into my GitHub boilerplate, you'll find interactivity block and even interactivity block tailwind for examples of like a standalone plugin that adds a new block type. So I'll let you explore these different boilerplates at your own leisure. The only other ones I wanted to show you right now would be classic plugin custom menu and classic plugin settings menu. We can just take a look at one of the two. Why don't we do this, the custom menu one? So classic plugin custom menu, let's go find that. Here it is. I would just open that up in VS Code. I want to show you how you could set up or create sort of your first plugin in WordPress. So I would press Control-C in our old folder, and then in this new folder, Classic Plugin Custom Menu, we don't need to run an NPM install because there's no complexity to these. There's just 3 files, right? So you can just straight ahead go away with the npx @wp_now/wp_now start. Cool. So this is the default WordPress theme as of 2024. But if we go into the admin dashboard, this top left link here, and click on plugins, you can see it's already activated the plugin, the folder that we were in, called our word filter plugin. And what's cool is I've created this own custom menu down here. So instead of posts and pages, there's a new one called word filter. And if you click on that, it's telling you, let me zoom in a little bit so you can read this. It's saying like, enter a comma separated list of words. So let's think of a fun word to block. Maybe just the word ipsum from lorem ipsum, and comma, let's also block the word bad. So click Save Changes, and then if I go create a post, add a new post, example post, and then I say like lorem ipsum, this is my post, and it is not bad, it is great. And I publish that, and then I view it on the front end. You get the idea. It's filtering those words. So that's just a really quick example. I realized that wasn't an exciting plugin idea, but that can point you in the right direction. Whoops, let's go down to word filter. So now if you're wondering like, how do you add a custom menu? How do you save the user's preference, like their values that they're trying to save, to filter? All of that, you just dig into this index.php file, dig through this, experiment, try to make sense of it, and you'll be on your way to creating your own plugins. I'll point you in the right direction. So you're looking for this area called Add Filter. So this is what we talked about in the slideshow. WordPress has this hook and filter system, which is infinitely expandable. It lets you sort of tap into anything in WordPress that you're trying to customize as the developer. So you could filter the content, you could filter the title. I mean, you can filter a lot of things, but I'm just filtering the content, and then you give it a function. Now, the documentation on this, you can look up add filter. There's also add action, but that should point you in the right direction. If you can begin to wrap your mind around actions and filters, you can create all sorts of plugins. From there, it's really just a matter of adding your custom admin menu, just creating a user experience for those filters and hooks and actions. All right, that's all I had for this video for the hands-on portion. Really quick though, if you're not liking this like not permanent nature of every time you spin up a new local dev environment with, the @wp now command, I don't use that all the time. It's good for quick and dirty examples, but sometimes you want a consistent database. Like you want to create 20 example blog posts or 20 example pet posts or 20 example professor posts. And you want them, I mean, the whole point of a database is that it's persistent, right? So for a real, actual, like professional grade local dev environment, and it's completely free, I always recommend, and this is what I use, I have about 100 local dev environments. It's just called localwp.com, completely free, completely amazing, definitely like the industry standard tool. This is what you would use for a true local dev environment. You're just gonna get frustrated using the WP now, but that was cool for like a really quick example or demo, right? So do yourself a favor, if you are at all interested in learning about WordPress development, go download LocalWP right now. It's available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. Cool. And then finally, at the very end here, if you enjoyed this video, or if you would like to learn more about WordPress with me, you'll find a link to my website in the description. It's learnwebcode.com. From the site, you can look at the sales pitch if you want to, but you're probably just going to want to click on curriculum up in the top header navigation. Learn Web Code Premium, as of today, comes bundled with 5 courses, and perhaps the most relevant course at the moment is my 44-hour WordPress developer course, where everything that we just looked at in this video, we learn how to code together, concept by concept, bit by bit, in video lessons. So themes, both traditional modern block themes, plugins, JavaScript. This course has pretty much everything that I could possibly share with you in one convenient location. The bundle also comes with Figma to Full Stack Bootcamp, Laravel, MySQL, React, and also a Discord chat community. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. I hope you feel like you learned something. I hope you're a little bit excited about WordPress and you've seen how maybe it's kind of actually a nice developer experience. Take care and stay tuned for more web development tutorials.